Hey folks, welcome to this review. This is the latest addition to the city. It is the incredible Dutch windmill from German Lego competitor Blue Brixx. I don't often do reviews, but I'm going to do a pretty comprehensive one for this set, so it's a relatively long video for me, but I really wanted to do a proper review of this because it really deserves it. And also, Blue Brixx also deserve a bit of recognition. I bought the set myself for £80. It's €79 on the website. It was £10 for shipping, but I did buy another set to go along with it, so that's why it was a bit more expensive for the shipping. There are several grumbles I have with it, but let's start with appearances, and that is why I bought this set, and I think that's why most people would buy this set. It's a stunning showstopper. It's lovely. On a shelf it looks amazing, but of course in a city layout it just looks even better. The dimensions are perfect and it looks very realistic. It is set 107231, launched last year. It's a Blue Brixx special, which means it doesn't have a long shelf life, I think, a year or so. Most Blue Brixx sets, as standard, come in plain cardboard boxes like this, which is fine. It might be a bit odd when you first order one, you think, is this normal? But it's meant to be like that, and there's an image of the product on the side. It's 1,915 pieces and it retails for €79.95. These sets never seem to come with minifigures, but that's fine. They're all built with minifigures in mind, so you can certainly populate the building with Lego figures if you wanted to. Now, the first grumble is bags, so there are no numbered bags, meaning you have to lay out all the pieces when building. And I'll tell you, not having numbered bags, it does not bother me at all. It's just like Lego was when I was a kid. You just laid it all out, usually in brick size or length. So I'm not complaining about that. I actually enjoyed looking for parts and getting each step ready. You know, you really start to enjoy the build a little bit more when you do it like that. You can't sort of rush it. But the problem is there are maybe too many parts for doing that, and I was running out of space on the table. Another odd thing though was the links on this chain were not assembled. So you have to actually do this yourself, and I found this quite annoying, but I get it, there must be an expensive machine that does that, so it's cheaper to get us to do it. It's fine, I suppose, it's just very time consuming and fiddly. The instructions are a PDF and generally quite good, except for a few areas which I'll mention later. I won't go on too much about this, but it's important to look at what this is meant to be. It could be a polder mill, which were built for pumping water, which is crucial in a country like the Netherlands, but it has millstones, so it could just be a flour mill. I don't know enough about them to be sure. Either way, it's a beautiful structure, very iconic of course in the Netherlands. The sloped sides, the fenced walkway platform, and the rather substantial base. The big feature is the timber structure at the rear, consisting of these white beams. I love the dark green. I think dark grey would look terrible, so a good choice on the green. Inside there is a relatively complex gear mechanism which has different functions. The main one being the rotating millstone in the centre. And this whole build was a bit of a nightmare to build, and bits of it are weak. I'll go into that later on. The dimensions though are perfect. The cap on top is a great design, very realistic, and it houses the gears for the blades. The blades are simple, yet they look fantastic and they don't droop or fall off easily. I would love to put a motor in here. It's probably possible. I have had to disconnect the main gear mechanism as you can't rotate the blades normally. It clicks and jams and ends up breaking. It's not very good. The angled sides are well built. They all fit mostly together, but they probably should have a way to connect at the top, as they tend to not align properly. But hey, just look at it, it's lovely. There are loads of different types of windmills in the Netherlands. There are, like I said, polder mills, which are used to drain water. They would have a water wheel or a screw attached to the base to lift water. This set looks a lot like these on screen here. The fenced area around the edge, the large white timber structure which is used to turn the cap. This one here is pretty substantial in size, and I think it looks more industrial. But the set is definitely meant to be a flour producing grain mill because it has that inside it. This diagram here is an example of a flour mill. Of course, you can see the millstones on the interior which crush the wheat. The set also has this fenced edge in white, an octagonal shape, 8 sides. It looks great, the angles are perfect, but it's unbelievably fragile. One of the most attractive and clever parts is this timber section in white plates and tiles. All the beams are connected with mixel joints, and it looks really good. There's this pirate ship wheel, well no, but they do have these wooden wheels in real life which are used to turn the chain and the gears and to move the cap, which in turn moves the blades to face the wind. This chain would secure it in place, I think. Well, that's what I have used it for. And you can actually turn it with this, just like in real life. It's very smooth and it's cool. Although extremely annoying that I had to build the chain. I hate fiddly things like that, but that's just me maybe. It's hard to show, but the Technic build inside is offset slightly, which means the beam that connects the blade structure is actually at an angle. It points upwards, so when you do connect the blades, it doesn't droop and it turns properly. Again, just like in real life. You start to realise that the 13th century Dutch windmill architects were extremely advanced, and by the 15th century designs like this were common, and it's very complex. This set has this big gear inside, which is nicely hidden by this dark green curved build. It's very nice. If I take the sides away, you can start to see the internal structure. If I turn the blades, you can see it all connects to the millstones and rotates them. It's a really nice feature. It's basically a working model of the real life windmill, and this is exactly how they did the gears with all the wooden cogs turning inside. But this is where we start to see a few problems. There are a few areas where it looks like there are parts missing, and for me to do this I had to add some Technic bolts to hold the cogs and stuff in place so they absolutely could not move. That way they always turned properly and caught the other cogs and rotated it like they're meant to. It's hard to explain, it's very annoying when you build it. You can see almost immediately that it won't work properly unless you adjust it yourself and find the bites, as it were. The instructions are not clear enough for this. But don't be put off because you'll be able to fix it yourself. The middle shaft has a cog that hits against a stationary piece that will just break apart the whole mechanism if you don't fix it yourself. And this is meant to be some kind of gear where you can change from the millstone to the winch that pulls up the flour bags. But again, it's not clear at all in the instructions. It needs to be better. I would have a passage in English and German on a page in the instructions explaining what this is all meant to do. The winch is cool though, it's a nice feature. Although I have to say, I think a lot of this is unnecessary. Leave it to the Germans to over-engineer stuff. Although I understand the designer is actually Dutch. Probably one of the worst parts though is the base actually, because when you're building this, if you drop any piece, which I did many times, it's incredibly frustrating to get them back. I had to disconnect the floor, I had tweezers too, as if anything falls down there, goodbye. And look, it's easy for me to complain, but I think with something so complex and an iconic building as well, it needs to have another pair of eyes maybe going over the design and the instructions just to make it work a bit better and not be so fragile. I don't know how this happened because I understand that other builders have had the same problems with this set. A bit like the old style Millennium Falcon, you can open up the sides up like this and really get into the interior. And you can place figures and see the mechanism. There are two sets of doors, they're quite nice, but they're not big enough to get a hand in. This here is the original base, so the whole thing sits on the grey jumper plate, so I think they had it in mind maybe to take this off to get inside, but I could never get the main build to sit on this properly. Like right from the start, it never lined up. I thought I built it wrong, but I definitely haven't. It's for sure a design flaw, or maybe there's too much stress put on the pieces, I don't know. Even when I watched the Blue Brixx YouTube video about this set, it seems to come off when they were looking at it. So I've just taken it off, I'll leave it off, and I'll sit the set on a base plate instead. Another fragile part are these panels. They are meant to come off. Anything on a jumper plate I suppose is meant to, but they are very hard to put back on. It's not a great design. You have to come in from the side, push it down. It's really tricky. I can see why they did it like that. It's nice to get access, but really, if it were me designing this, I would not do an interior at all. I would just have rotating blades and make it all these side panels that connect together. You know, they have to connect together to make it strong. That's the only way you're going to be able to do this. I think it's unnecessary to have them opening up to get in access. But that's because they've got this interior. They have tried to make the side stronger with these struts which hold the walkway. They are quite good. However, if this was a Lego set, they would have Technic beams probably, and find a way of making this not fragile. It would be a solid build. The same with these side fences. They just look unfinished, and they basically are. They also break very easily. Why are they not tiled? I don't know why they're not tiled. It's very odd. I definitely think they should have some pictures and explanations in the instructions, and probably have the designer doing a video, doing his own review and explaining the set. That said, even after all my grumbles, I think it's beautiful. It looks like the real thing. It's very large. The blades turn so nice. I'm way more positive about it, got way more positive feelings about it than any negative ones. But when building it, it did break a bit. I kept losing pieces down into the middle, so I was annoyed when I was building it. But the results are great. One thing to mention though, when you've built it, pick it up like this. Don't ever grab it by the side or lift it from the top. This is the only way to move it without breaking it. Trust me, I've broken it about 5 times. So I've done a few adjustments. I've added brown tiles as I hate the studs in the middle. The fence pieces have been tiled and I made them stronger. They don't break now. I also added thicker ones here, so when I pick it up from the sides, it's quite strong. These angled plates are more secure with these brown tiles over the edge. I did that all the way around, and I think it looks better and it's not as fragile. Would I recommend this? Yes, but be prepared for the fragility and the mechanism. For me, this is a display piece and I will occasionally turn the blades, so it's fine. It's absolutely not a toy. I think Blue Brixx have done an okay job. The instructions aren't great in places, but otherwise they're quite good. It should be clearer, and I think you need some kind of opening passage with photos of the functions and maybe details of the history of these windmills. It just could do with a little bit more TLC and a bit more thought for the consumer. But since I purchased this set, Blue Brixx have jazzed up their website a fair bit, and they have added more information and details. So the way it looks now, it was not like this before. They must have been aware of their shortcomings, and the new website is way better and easier to navigate. The price is great, especially for the volume of parts and the size of the thing. The parts are also identical to Lego in almost every way, except for one thing. And you might find this with a lot of Blue Brixx and Go Brixx and other brands as well. The larger plates just aren't the best with clutch power. They either pop apart sometimes or they stick together too much. It's the only issue I've ever come across. All the other bricks are fine. So to conclude, I would definitely recommend. Blue Brixx are doing some great stuff. I can only see them getting better and better. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.